Hello everyone. Today I will talk about the logical continuation of the Rogue starter build with Dance of Knives in Diablo 4. That is its late game version for Season 12. The skills, the rotation, and everything else. New off here. As usual, short and to the point. Let's go. To understand the main points, I recommend watching the guide for the starter version, because here I will try not to repeat what I already explained in the previous video. You can switch to this build only after obtaining the Aspect of Bursting Venoms and the build-defining uniques, the chest armor and the gloves. Also, some aspects required for this build carry over from the starter leveling version. If you did not watch that video, it's not my fault. For clarity, this is not the top push build. The top push build is the Heartseeker build. This is not the top mobility build. The top mobility build is the Death Trap build. This is the most convenient build for farming late game on Torment 4 and higher. Got it? Excellent. And do not skip to the end. I explain all the details and nuances during the explanation, not in separate blocks. And I do not waste time with filler. Let's start with the skills. We put 1 point into Blade Shift or any other basic skill. We only needed to move further in the skill tree. Next, we put 3 points into Sturdy for damage reduction and 1 point into Siphoning Strikes for health recovery. Next, 1 point into the skill Dance of Knives. In this version of the build, this skill is not the main source of damage. It is used for movement, applying crowd control effects to enemies, and generating frequent lucky hit triggers. Also, maintaining Dance of Knives constantly, again through lucky hit, allows us to place poison traps passively, and those poison traps deal the main damage. Take these enhancement nodes for the knives. Next, invest 3 points into Rugged for protection from damage over time. Also put 3 points into Unstable Elixirs. Now you should drink 1 health potion at least once every 10 seconds, even if you are at full health, in order to stun enemies and increase damage. Even better if you do it more often, because the bonus stacks. Also put 3 points into Trick Attacks for critical chance and critical damage. Put 1 point into Dash. Next, invest 1 point into the active skill Concealment and 1 point into each of these upgrade nodes. Now we can become invisible and move through enemies. At the same time, we gain additional dodge chance and increased movement speed for 5 seconds after using it. The next active skill is Dark Shroud at maximum rank with these upgrade nodes. This is our main defensive skill. You do not need to place it on the action bar because through the Umbros aspect it will work passively. Take the passive node that increases critical chance. Next, put 3 points each into the passive nodes Exploit and Malice. They significantly increase our damage. Then put 5 points into Poison Trap. As I said earlier, this is our main damage skill. Next, we take the Imbuement category skill. Poison Imbuement. This skill increases the damage of all skills while converting the damage from any skill into poison damage over time. It also helps restore energy. Next, 3 points into Deadly Venom, which multiplicatively increases all our poison damage. 3 points into Alchemical Advantage to increase attack speed and lucky hit chance. 2 points into Debilitating Toxins. This node reduces the damage from poisoned enemies, and all enemies on the screen are poisoned thanks to the splitting projectiles of Dance of Knives through the Star Shards aspect. The Dance of Knives projectiles themselves deal poison damage because of poison imbuement. Next, we take 3 points in Frigid Finesse. This allows us to increase damage multiplicatively against chilled and frozen enemies. Enemies will be chilled and frozen through the runewords Neo Plus or the more advanced late-game version Neo Plus tool. Max out the Deadeye node and remember that when we are outside melee range, the enemy takes 30% more damage. Visually, melee distance looks roughly like this. Next, put 3 points into Alchemist Fortune to increase lucky hit chance. 3 points into Innervation for faster energy recovery, and 3 points into Second Wind to generate a barrier. 1 point into Death Trap with 1 upgrade node. A reminder, in this build Death Trap is used only as a damage buff for Poison Trap and other buffs. Put 3 points into Impetus. This node increases the damage of core skills, and Poison Trap is a core skill. I will show why later. The key passive node is Exposure. It, like almost everything in this build, works through lucky hit chance and greatly increases trap damage. Note, if your survivability is good and you are not pushing very high pits, you can slightly adjust things. Look, we can remove 2 skill points from the Sturdy node, also remove 1 or 3 points from the Rugged node, and remove 1 or 2 points from the Debilitating Toxins node. This gives us up to 7 additional points. These can be spent on trap mastery if your critical chance with all buffs is below 100%. Also, the first passive node of dash increases our critical chance by 10%, and it must be 100%. Keep these options in mind, but move points only after you understand how this build works. For now, just remember that you have 7 spare points. This will also be useful when killing bosses. I will explain why later. Next, the gear. All gear with the desired stats, tempers, and rolls is listed through the link in the description. I show the items that I currently have. Attention, not all stats and rolls that I show in the pictures are correct or maximum. Check the planner for the correct setup. In the early version, the helmet can be legendary, but later it's the Heir of Perdition. It increases all our damage multiplicatively through its aspect, and in this build, all 4 of its main stats are valuable. Armor, Scoundrel's Leathers. It makes our traps count as core skills, which gives a boost from the helmet and from Ring of Starless Skies. It also greatly increases trap damage. Gloves, Bands of Icarus Rose. These gloves provide 4 additional traps, reduce the time for damage over time to be applied to 3 seconds, and grant bonuses from combo points from Dance of Knives. Pants are normal legendary pants. The important thing here is the bonus to the number of health potions. Remember the Unstable Elixir's passive. The bonus from drinking a potion stacks for 10 seconds. The Umbrous aspect on the pants allows us to gain all the benefits of the Dark Shroud passively, that is, without having it on the action bar. The temper here reduces the trap trigger time. Boots are legendary with Mangler's aspect, which when dealing direct damage, which is Dance of Knives, to vulnerable enemies tries to make them dazed. Daze itself is useful as a defensive mechanic, and in addition, the Trick Attack's passive increases our critical chance by 15%. And critical chance, as a reminder, is important. The two-handed weapon is a crossbow because of the higher base damage. Aspect of Contamination in the crossbow is the reason why we need 100% critical chance. When a trap is triggered by a critical strike, it deals more damage. Next are 2 swords with the Star Shards aspect, which increases all our damage, provides shards for crowd control effects and poisoning enemies, and also grants combo points to increase all our damage. The second sword has Vehement Brawler's aspect to increase damage after activating the ultimate. This directly means that we use the ultimate at least once every 8 seconds. The Aspect of Bursting Venoms is on the amulet. It allows us to place traps passively while moving. The trap is placed not under the mouse cursor, but under the nearest enemy. It is possible that later we will replace the amulet with a new legendary one, but for now that is only theory. The legendary amulet itself, like any other item, is shown in the planner through the link in the description. It is almost impossible to obtain a perfect one, so be ready for that. Ring of Starless Skies, a timeless classic. Masterworking here depends on whether you already have 100% critical chance. If you do, the ideal masterworking goes into lucky hit or core skill. The same applies to the helmet. If critical chance is already 100%, then masterworking goes into lucky hit or core skill. The second ring has Clandestine Aspect, which increases 2 categories of skills by 5 ranks. Poison Trap is especially valuable for us, but the other skills are also important. It is very important to have on the ring the stat that gives a chance to apply vulnerable on lucky hit. Runewords. There are not many options here for the following reasons. Ahu plus Quax is mandatory not only because of the significant damage increase, but also because it spends all our energy and therefore activates the preparation specialization, which in turn resets all our skills and provides defense. Remark, in this version of the build, it is not critical to have 150 energy for a full 10-second cooldown reset. Everything already works well. The second rune word depends on rune availability. Neo plus Sek, Druid Wolves or Neo plus Thule, Sorcerer Nova. Both rune words provide freeze as a defensive mechanic and also activate the Frigid Finesse node. The Neo rune can be replaced with back after reaching maximum movement speed. That is plus 200% with all buffs. You need to check these bonuses, straining your eyes right on the battlefield under full buffs, just like critical strike chance, because Blizzard loves us. To get all the news from the perspective of not a Blizzard partner but a regular player, subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thanks. Rotation and build mechanics. Hold down Dance of Knives. Movement speed with all buffs should be plus 200%, which is very easy to reach. Dance of Knives triggers Poison Trap through Lucky Hit. The Lucky Hit chance can be viewed for each skill separately by hovering the mouse over it. Poison Trap itself is placed automatically under the nearest enemy. There can be up to 8 traps at once, 4 by default and 4 from the gloves. Traps trigger with a delay of 1/4 of a second because of the temper on the pants. The trap deals all its damage over 3 seconds because of the aspect on the gloves. That is why the weapon tempers increase trap duration. Poison imbuement works only for a certain number of attacks, so press it once every couple of seconds. The number of attacks affected by poison imbuement is increased through the temper on the boots. Concealment should be pressed at least once every 5 seconds for convenient movement through enemies and for other bonuses such as Unstoppable. If it is not ready, it is reset like all other skills through using the ultimate. The ultimate itself resets when it deals damage and also through the key passive, which also works via lucky hit. There will be no cooldown problems even with a rough version of the build. As mentioned earlier, the rune word Ahu plus Quax consumes all energy, which resets the ultimate through the preparation specialization. The specialization then resets everything else. Therefore, energy recovery is important for the Ahu plus Quax interaction. Do not press Poison Trap because it works automatically through the aspect. Place Death Trap under elites or bosses. Also use it when you need to reset skills. Use Dash when needed for movement or, as mentioned earlier, to increase critical chance if it is lacking. As a result, we have a very convenient rogue build for relaxed late-game farming. For farming uber bosses, I recommend using the skill caltrops with these upgrade nodes. I explained where to get the points for it earlier. We have a reserve of 7 of them. Against an uber boss, you first throw caltrops, then place Death Trap, and then start spinning Dance of Knives, which activates the poison traps. As a result, a stack of traps is placed under the uber boss, dealing damage by ticking 2 times per second. I am on Torment 3 because my gear is exactly what is shown in the video, not what it should be. The correct gear is in the planner linked in the description. Furthermore, I consider using the new unique dagger in this build to increase damage against isolated targets. What exactly isolated targets means in terms of game terminology, I hope Blizzard will explain after the season starts. Yes, the Season 12 theme buffs are shown in the planner. At the moment, these seem to be the best ones. But the season has not started yet, and there may be, and most likely will be, some adjustments to these seasonal bonuses. For mercenaries, I traditionally use Subo and Raher. Do not forget that Subo's points should be allocated to buff your damage over time. Use these potions. That is all about the most convenient rogue build for farming Torment 4 and other late-game activities. If I forgot something, do not be too harsh. If I did not forget anything, write that I did a good job. I would appreciate a like and a subs. Thank you for watching. Bye.